Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope that you are ready for it because Julia from Craftroomadventues, are back with a Challenge a Crafty Friend card. This time we decided to create a Halloween card. It's almost Halloween, so it looked like a fun idea to do that right now and still inspire you with some Halloween ideas. So definitely after this video, don't forget to check out her video. I'm always linking towards her YouTube channel as well, so that you can find it, because she also has a YouTube channel. So if you're not yet subscribed, I definitely suggest doing that because she creates the most amazing cards. Also, if you're a lawn fawn lover, she's incredible with lawn fawn. She always amazes me. Now for my card for this challenge, I decided to use this adorable stamp set from Sweet November Stamps. It's the A Little Halloween. I bought it last year, but I didn't find the time to use it actually, so today I'm changing that. I made sure to stamp out this adorable image on top of my card base, and so as far as I know there aren't any matching dies, otherwise I would have bought them, you know me. But since there aren't, I created a mask on some masking paper here, and I'm also masking off my edges. I'm going to create some horizontal stripes, and so I didn't want my stitching details to be covered with the inks. As always, I love it when they stay white, so that's why I'm adding the purple tape. You don't need to if you don't have stitching details or if you prefer it going all the way through. Next, I'm adding that mask as good as possible, and then we will get our background ready. Now I wanted to play a bit with stripes, and I don't know if you recall my last card with the lawn fawn images and the apples and all those things. There I used the skinny stripes stencil from lawn fawn. But if you don't have that, maybe you have some masking tape. Like I have here, this is Post-it tape. It's a really gentle tape. And if you add your panel on your craft mat, like straight, you can follow the lines on your craft mat to help you with guiding how you need to add that Post-it tape as well. Now, since this is a Halloween card, I decided for the background to go with purples and greens. Well, one purple, one green. And I'm going to create a gradient. I wanted to have the inks a bit darker on the right side, there where that image was as well. And then let it fade out a bit lighter towards the left side. I think that I did that as well because my image will be colored in with Copics, which is quite a strong marker. I find every time that I use them, they have a really vibrant color. You can use muted combinations, of course, but still, it's quite dark. So with the darker background on the right side as well, I thought that was nice to have a gradient like that. Now I'm going to each time have a purple and then a green line. So I made sure to each time place my Post-it tape so that I would have one side for the purples and then one side for the greens. As you can see here, I'm just going to reuse this Post-it tape as much as possible, and every time keeping the purple there when I'm blending with the purple on the intersection of my blending area, and then when I'm going to the green area, then I'm using the green side. This way I'm sure to not smudge the inks. If by any chance you think that the ink is underneath your Post-it tape, I would suggest changing Post-it tape so that you will not smudge with the back side of the Post-it tape. But in my case that didn't happen, so you can always turn the Post-it tape before adding it to see whether there is any leakage happening or not. So I'm just blending my way here softer towards the left side. You don't need to, you can do it at one go, but it can be a really lovely effect as well. I'm just going to add one stripe of each, and then we can remove all of the masking. Now masking, sometimes it can be tricky to remove. There are several things you can do then. I tend to go really slowly here for sure because I don't want to rip my paper, but you can always use your heat gun, and that way the masking paper normally will lift up easier. I don't know why I didn't thought of that earlier or at all, but that definitely can help. Another thing that is really useful to have is an adhesive eraser for those tiny pieces that can be stuck while removing your masking. That always happens to me, I don't know why, but it's not a big deal if you have that eraser. So I'm just making sure to slowly remove everything. If the mask is intact, I would suggest keeping it on the back of your stamp set, because you never know when you will need it again, and then you don't have to fussy cut it a second time around. In my case here, I teared the mask a bit, so I wasn't able to recover it and put it on the back of the stamp set, but I definitely love how the masking turned out with the background. The background is subtle, it's going to be a clean and simple card, as I really love making that. But yeah, it's simple, it's subtle, and there is a background. So now we can continue with the coloring. Really simple coloring. Again, I'm going to reuse tons of colors. Just to make it simple, we have the green, we have the purple. I will use some orange on the pumpkin. I will use some more purples for the witch here. But I started first with the coloring of the skin tone. As I always try to do, I'm trying to find out which areas will be the hardest for me to color. It can normally, well, most of the time it's skin tone and hair. From time to time when I'm trying a new color combination, I tend to start with that one because I don't know whether it is going to end up lovely or not. So it always depends a bit, but most of the time it is skin tone and hair. Because I'm just, well, I'm still in like experimenting phase when it comes to hair. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Skin tone, I love this combination, but it takes me a bit of time to get that combination to work every time, to get the blend that I want. So for that, I just tend to start with the skin tone as well. Now I went for a bit of black hair here. I tried to do a bit of those hairy lines kind of things. But in case that you don't have a lot of highlights, it's perfectly fine. From time to time you have just a lot of areas where you can get that highlight, and sometimes it's just, well, a small area of hair. So just keep in mind that if you want to have those lines for the hair, the more vertical you hold your marker, the thinner the lines will be that you have, and so you have more opportunities to really get those details in there. In case you want to revisit color combinations later on, they are always listed on my blog post, just easy for reference, and there is always a link towards my blog post in the description box down below my videos. So in case you're not writing anything down, that's perfectly fine. If by any chance you want to use one of the combinations later on, you can always find them over there. So with the mouse, I decided to stay with the grays. I really love coloring critters with browns, but in this case, I'm going to use purples, but I already had a few grays going on with hair and the boots, so I ended up reusing warm grays so that everything was just easy to match with each other. Now for the purple of the clothing, I am using my favorite RV combination, the RV99, RV69, and RV34. Now depending on how saturated I am coloring or how much ink I'm using each time I'm coloring, I don't need a second layer or I do need it. It all depends a little bit, so also probably the paper that you're using, that can also, that can also be the reason why you decide to add multiple layers or not. Most of the time on this paper it's Transotype perfect coloring paper. Also I'm writing all of the supplies that I'm using down below in the description box as on my blog post, if you're looking for the way to write it. But the Transotype perfect coloring paper is a really good paper to color with Copics. I really love it. Most of the time I need 2 layers to get the blend that I want. Now, not always, it depends on how saturated your layers are, because Some of you might add tons and tons of markers immediately from the first layer on, and then it might be just one layer that is enough. I tend to just fill the image and then I go back in. Another thing that can be useful, what I'm also doing with this combination every time, is doing a tip to tip. That's the technique where you're using your lightest marker, you're going over the mid-tone, or like here. You can also do it in between the darkest and your mid-tone, of course. But if you're just lacking the marker in between to get that transition between the two colors, then the tip to tip can really help you extend your Copics or your other alcohol markers you might have. And then after a while, well, the tip will just get clean. Once you color it, you will see that the dark color is disappearing again because you just used it up. So in this case, for this dress, I didn't end up adding tons of layers because I was already quite happy with how it turned out from the start. Now I'm going to use my my black combination again for that band on the head. I contemplated using the green because actually there where my head is and that band, it was just overlapping with my purple background, so it would have worked perfectly. But I think this was mostly a decision made on keeping it as simple as possible, let those colors return every time again. So that's why I didn't end up using any greens there. Now for the pumpkin, I am going to use some yellow reds, a really soft combination. You have seen it before, I have used it a ton of time already because I really love how it turns out. You can go for a really orangey pumpkin, even a blue one, as I did for a baby card with a digital stamp from Rochelle Anna Miller. But in this case, I still went for that yellow-red 27, 24, 21, which is a really lovely combination to have. Definitely if you want to create autumn vibes cards or Halloween cards, I truly think this is a combination that everyone should have if you love like the muted tones as well. Otherwise, you can stick to yellow-red 07, yellow-red 04, and 02 if you want to, or any other combination from the reds that are really, really bright. So I'm just trying to get enough depth here, and as you can see, I'm adding a second layer here because I just found that it wasn't defined enough, there wasn't enough shadowing, so I just went over it, added a bit more of my darker colors, and then I blended it out with the lighter ones. Also for the inside, I use my lightest color from that combination, and then I use yellow 21. So you can definitely use several color families together, even though they are not the same. That works fine. Definitely when you are using like a color family close by. Another thing, by the way, about color families and matching them is what I recently discovered thanks to Nikki Meek. She is amazing. So if you haven't seen the video from yesterday yet, there I'm sharing 3 almost exactly the same Christmas cards, but there I'm combining pink and gray markers together to get a really lovely pink combination that I learned by Nikki Meek. So definitely check that out because I was blown away by her card. On my blog post, I am linking towards her as well there. I was blown away by the combination, and I was so happy to see that she listed everything on her blog post. I love it to learn from others. If we share our knowledge, we can all create so much more than we already thought we could. So I'm just making sure that I don't have any stickiness anymore on my card here. I stamped the sentiment from this stamp set, a little Halloween, on top of my card. So this definitely is a Halloween card, but it's also some happy mail. And then I'm going to adhere my panel on top of a card base. And then we will embellish. I'm not going to go overboard. I really love clean and simple. But since we have all that black going on, why don't we add a few black hearts on the background as well? So I'm using the Heart Sprinkle Mix Black Licorice from Trinity Stamps. I love these heart sprinkles, you know it, it's my favorite. And I just ended up adding 3 on the left side and then 2 on the right side. But as you can see, I fiddled a bit with placement. before adhering it, because I just wasn't too sure in the beginning. And then once I adhered these 5 on top, I call this card finished. So as I said in the beginning, this card is part of a challenge a crafty friend, so definitely check out Craftroomadventues, Julia. She also has a video for you, so tons of inspiration. I hope that you have fun looking at her card as well, at her process. Maybe you get inspired and you want to make a quick Halloween card still, because it's not yet Halloween. I want to thank you all for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. I truly hope that I could inspire you today, that you have a lovely day, and I'll be back soon with some new craft inspiration. Bye!